course, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're listening or watching from in the world. Of course, welcome back to the Yout Turnt show right here on GBKM FM with me, your host, Romain Redmond. Of course, this is where we aim to inform, empower, and of course, energize today's youth across the world. If you're just joining us for the first time, of course, welcome to the show. If you're returning from a previous weeks, of course, welcome back. It's always such a fun and pleasure to have you join us here at home as we aim to entertain also you in the comfort of your own space. Don't forget, we always like for you to join our conversation. It's on, of course, Facebook at Great Benin Kingdom Media. Also get us on YouTube, it's GBKM TV. You can also get us on our website, www.gbkm.fm, and also in TuneIn app, it's GBKM. And don't forget, you can also get our app from our website and take us with you wherever you go in the world. How great is that, right? But of course, that's how GBKM does it. We always like to keep you near to us, not too far, but so very close. Of course, the Yout Turnt show is brought to us by the kind sponsorship of AOF Immigration Canada, who specializes in all your immigration needs, ranging from the Quebec Investor Program, permanent residency, student visa, whatever your need might be, they have you covered. So just contact them. Contact AOF Immigration for your private and confidential consultations. You can give them a call. It's 416-629-4617. You can also send them an email. It's at info@aofimmigration.com. Or if you're in Canada, you can visit their offices. They're located at 5800 Ambler Drive in Mississauga, Ontario, and just let them know that we here at the Yout Turnt show and GBKM FM sent you over. So the last time we were in studios, we talked a little bit about some of the strategies that would best work in reopening our world. Well, this week, we're taking a different kind of directions as to bringing you those strategies as to how to adapt to this new world, as so many of our cities across the world has already been reopened. But of course, we have that and so much more. And my special guest in studio this week to take us through that discussion, and I promise you, that's one you don't want to miss. So of course, we'll take a very first break here on the show, but we'll be right back with so much more after these messages.
Do you know who you are? What is your name?
Sometimes you wonder why and wonder how. Don't be alone. Just stay calm, cause even if you choose or not to.
My child, recite the words of this ancient mythology. The wisdom I disperse in this verse, no apology. Memorize to keep you from evil theology. For you, the darker hue, you denied your equality. See, for generations we perpetrated psychology. Divide and conquer each other, really lynch policy. You cannot build each other up, how will you build economy?
And of course, welcome back to the Yout Turnt show right here on GBKM FM. Of course, I'm your host, Romain Redmond, and we're going from 3 p.m. on till 4 p.m. So if you're just joining us, you haven't missed anything. We're just about to dive into today's show, and one I promised you that will be worth the 1 hour. So without a doubt, the world has experienced such a dramatic shift, and with that shift has come the opportunity for us to reposition for success. And today my guest on that topic knows all too well about that. So here is our very first installation of our series, Reset, Let's Get Ready to Go. And my panelist for today, she's of course an internationally renowned development practitioner, and also she has just concluded her master's degree in developmental administration and planning, of course, at UCL in London, UK. So, Yout Turnt show family, of course, please help me to welcome to this panel, Miss Tashana Mullins. Miss Mullins, I must say it is an absolute pleasure to have you joining us on the show today.
It's lovely to be here, Ramin, especially when it concerns a topic like the one we're speaking of today.
Absolutely, but you have been through it. As I mentioned before, you've just completed your master's degree, so you were in school while this whole pandemic was unfolding. So just give us some insights as to how it is that you've been personally, and what has that been for you in school, studying in such unprecedented times?
Well, it has been really interesting, Ramin, and studying something like development administration, where we're literally looking at how stakeholders across the world work together to actually actually deal with different shifts, coming from the first, second, third to now what is called the fourth industrial revolution.
Absolutely.
So this is actually the kind of things that I'm delving into in my program of study. So to have this kind of shift across the globe while I'm studying was absolutely amazing. Of course, like most of us, at first I was disheartened because we were to do a trip to Uganda as a part of our studies, and
Yes.
that trip was cancelled. That's where we actually get to go in the field to see what is happening in the developing world, and that didn't happen. But out of that experience, there was a shift in terms of learning online and actually seeing the world in a different way. And sometimes, if we're not pushed, certain changes would not have been made. And we have seen so much of that, not just as a student at the University College of London, but across the globe in our businesses, in our schools, even in our homes and personal lives.
Absolutely. And the funny thing about that too is you mentioned the dramatic shift, but you've been in development for quite a number of years. Not saying she's quite young. Let's get that. But this is not
Yes,
a
please
new
get that
avenue
straight.
for you. You have been in your community doing development work in terms of transformation in the community. But how has this informed, though, the work that you've done and the work that you intend to do having completed your second degree?
Yes, Romaine. So I consider myself pre-academic. So of course I like the academic side of stuff, but I like working in the field. And so over the years, I've been working in my community, being born and raised in St. Thomas, Jamaica, where a part of the social economic survey looks at our parish as one of the lowest performing in terms of our levels of development. So
Yes.
that really inspired me to see what I could do at the grassroots level through education and training to see some level of transformation. And I started my business doing education and training, not even knowing that I was doing social entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So it was along the way I learned that I was a social entrepreneur. And now in my studies, I'm learning concepts like the bottom of the pyramid. So there are persons who are at the bottom of the pyramid. Look at the world. They have the upper, the middle, and the lower.
Yeah.
And what we are now learning is that there's a great market opportunity at the bottom of the pyramid. And what I'm looking at is that this is the type of work I've been doing in the rural space over the years. I've been looking at how can I come up with, for example, a cross subsidization model where my income goal is 100,000 and I find a way to do a service in the corporate area for 50,000 for one client, and then serve the same thing to five different clients and break down the cost to 5 to 10,000 each. You know what I mean? So I've
Yes.
been innovating and practicing these strategies. Doing my degree now is actually putting definition to a lot of
Yes.
the work I've been doing over the years. I
Absolutely.
just before I left, and this is the last one on this point. Just before I left, I got an award from USAID for rural regeneration, and that's the point where I further defined the work that I was doing. So it's amazing to just be doing work, and then the academic side actually now teaches you the actual principles that
Yes.
allows you to now go back and deepen that work. So it's like a hand in hand process.
And the beauty about that too, in terms of merging the practical side with the theoretical side, is to bring about so that you can better explain what you're doing, right? Because the systems are there, and then the practice is there. Then the theory helps you to really put that down on a piece of paper, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what I realized, there are lots of communities that would want, for example, grant funding to perform a lot of their grassroots level projects, but they don't have the know-how to write these grants. They don't know how to articulate and define what they need. So you find that communities where there are persons who have that level of skill set are always winning all the grants. So
Yes.
it's a really unique opportunity for me as a rural girl, not just to continue doing the work myself, but to replicate. And I'm excited about people like you and other mentees who have been teaching those skills at the grassroots level. And
Yes.
then to watch all my mentees like multiplying these effects, not just same place in St. Thomas, Jamaica, but all over the world. So it's amazing. When you put that definition and you merge it with the practical,
Yeah.
the results are absolutely phenomenal.
And I love that you mentioned the fact of the work myself here, and of course GBKMFM has been doing too, because we are catering to our African continent or Caribbean continent. Of course, we're Black media, right? And I know you have done some work, of course, in Africa. You were at a summit there a couple years ago presenting your ideas in terms of development also. And Africa is at the critical juncture too for
Absolutely.
development. And some of those ideas, I know your master's degree was going to be centered on, some of your studies were going to be centered on the African continent. Give us a brief insight, not the whole dissertation, about what that would have been like.
All right, absolutely. So you mentioned the fact that I've done some work on the African continent. So I've done youth leadership training in Morocco. I've done youth leadership training in Ethiopia, basically teaching them these same principles that I practice at the grassroots level. And so I was really excited to go to Uganda, which was, as I said before, canceled because of the pandemic. Because what I was looking at is what is called a human rights-based approach, where we look at people's competencies to really perform at levels that helps them to secure their own human rights. It's not just about satisfying the human need and giving somebody food for this week and clothes to wear, but we want to empower people and to bring out their capabilities to perform and to secure their own livelihoods. So that's something I was really looking at. For my dissertation, I'm particularly looking at entrepreneurship, which is educational entrepreneurship, and mapping out how that is working in the Jamaican landscape. And so I've been looking at the Nigerian landscape, the countries in India, and how they're performing educational entrepreneurship. Because gone are the days when services like education is only state provided. Yes. There are a lot of innovations taking place. And as I said before, because the world is moving so fast, the learning needs are also accelerating. So depending on the government alone to serve the world with the level of education that people need and how fast things are moving. Right now, a lot of the degrees that exist today did not exist 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And I'm sure this term, there are a lot of universities that are introducing new degrees that didn't exist before. So then you notice that there needs to be greater stakeholder relationships to look at the emerging learning needs that is coming up with this acceleration of the fourth industrial revolution.
Absolutely. And of course, we could pack an entire show into that whole concept you just unloaded for us. But for today, of course, it's really the reset. We're about the reset on today's show. So let me steer us back in that direction and really getting ready to go. And getting ready to go in the sense that we have to be enabled to keep up with the new reset that has been beset upon us, right? And we look at the education field. You did mention that in your own experience, you've had to readapt and readjust to what education and learning would be like for you. So I just wanted to give us some tips as to how so many students are returning to school throughout this month. So many countries have started unloading back into school for September, and we should expect this to continue through to October. And so many persons have anxiety, fear of really going back into school, whether it be physical learning, where all these new protocols are in place. And of course, new environment, we're learning from our homes or bedrooms, right? Online learning.
Absolutely.
So how should we approach this new style of learning, teaching, learning process, students particularly? And what are some of the tips you have for us coming from your areas of expertise?
Yeah, well, today's show, the theme is reset and get ready, right? To actually go. So this whole reset, everything that we discussed previously is a good backdrop for this resetting that we need to do. Yes. Because the world is where the world is and what is happening is happening. So there has to be some kind of acceptance to say, this is what the world is. As a student, I may be going to hybrid learning, or maybe I'm going to full online learning, or if I'm going to school physically, there's going to be social distancing. So that reset is that kind of acceptance that there's only one thing that is constant, especially in the 21st century, and it is change. So first part of that resetting is to get in the mindset that, look, change is constant. The world is moving fast. Things are getting more competitive. So I must move with it. So that in terms of resetting our mindset, that is what resetting looks like. Um, LinkedIn every year puts out what are the top soft skills that people need to have. And what are they talking about in 2020? Creativity. They're talking about collaboration, persuasion, and emotional intelligence. So now we must find creative ways to learn. If you're working from home, do you have outlined everything that you have to do today and have your schedule on a wall beside you? As simple as that. If you like it digital, you have an app or you just have it on your computer. Those are simple, practical things that you can do. Make sure that in terms of self-care, you're drinking enough water. If you're learning at your computer, you're taking walks. Those are simple, practical things. Make sure that if you're not going out, you surround yourself with mentors or people that you can call on when things get a bit overwhelming. Because we can always talk about the higher level stuff, like
Yes.
about, what is the World Economic Forum saying about changing skills and, what is happening in the fourth industrial revolution. But this is affecting people on a personal level that will require them to readjust and do practical things in their personal life. I personally have not been exercising so consistently for a while until
Yeah.
now in lockdown. My cooking skills have gone through the roof and I'm eating healthier. And based on the kinds of lifestyles that, learning and working from our computer has driven us to now take on, we have to make sure that in terms of health, we're having that balance. So that's the whole reset, right? And I love to talk about getting ready in terms of the mindset,
Okay.
set in terms of doing your actual practical plans, and then go. It means that you're not going to have to sustain this kind of thing for a while because the world is not about to go back to whatever normal is.
2016. It's not going to go back to 2016.
We're not going back to 2016, and that is the reality. So this is what we have to accept and now work towards, surviving and not just surviving but thriving. Because this is no longer just about COVID.
Yeah.
COVID or COVID not, we are going through the fourth industrial revolution.
Yes.
Learning has accelerated, things are changing, competition is way more
It's more
aggressive.
competitive. Yeah. And super
Exactly.
competitive in
So
that respect.
there are so many entrepreneurship global accelerators. So it means that there are so many people that are being groomed to be entrepreneurs. So it's not like one time, entrepreneurship was the less likely thing and then everybody's looking for a 9 to 5. Now everybody's looking to be an entrepreneur. So where is the market going to be to absorb everybody? You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it's going to
I
take a
like the
great
point
level of,
you made right there too. Everyone is
yes,
looking to be an entrepreneur. But of course, we do have the reality that if you're not positioned well with whatever ideas you have in terms of your business model, your niche market, and all this stuff, it can be quite disastrous, especially in a fast paced system like the one we have right now.
yeah. I was just about to say you have to be very creative in that you're able to differentiate your product and or service. You have to make sure it is needs based. It's not just I want to start a business and have a business card and the glamorous side of having a business. Because to build a business with a solid business model that becomes profitable in the short to medium term and eventually in the long term, it takes a lot of work, Ramin. And having worked to build a social enterprise myself, I can tell you it is a rigorous, very challenging experience. When you have the wins are beautiful, but the process of building a business is quite challenging, which is why I always introduce young people also to this concept called entrepreneurship. So if you're really creative, but you don't have that risk taker personality and leadership skills within a company, they're looking for creative people who can make a process more efficient, who can help with the launch of a new product line. So don't feel that entrepreneurial skills mean that you must open your own shop, so to speak,
Yes.
whether online or brick and mortar. It's about bringing those skills to any space that you're operating in.
And you kind of touch on a point we're going to get to further down, but since we're here, you mentioned the fact that you have to be able to adjust to the new business world too. And so many young persons were looking for September to be the year, okay, I have the degrees, I have all the world requires, let's go get it. And then it's this big stop, huge layoffs across the world and all that stuff. You owned in on it a bit earlier, but positioning yourself to really be one of those attractive individuals that businesses right now who are in their own process of resetting to go again will actually want to hire.
It reminds me of a mnemonic I came up with in the height of the COVID crisis.
Yes.
And it's COVID, constantly operationalize versatile ideas daily. And that spells COVID.
Yes.
So you realize that it's a constant process to say, okay, I'm going to have to rework, I'm going to have to realign. It's consistent. So it's about consistently looking at what is happening around you and looking at your skills and sometimes preempting as well what is probably going to happen. And it's not just about having the degree. You know, you're probably ending high school and you're looking into going to university. Just know that having that degree alone does not secure your future. A lot of people are graduating with degrees this year and the job market is kind of in a sticky position. So you really have to think creatively about, you know, what is it that I can do? A lot of funding agency, they're giving grants for certain projects that will help with some of the COVID challenges. Is it that the degree that you would have studied, if you can partner with somebody who can write a project, don't just say, I can't write a project, so it can't happen. You probably studied something like sports analytics, just pulling something out of the cap. And you could do a sports-based project and write for project funding for 5 communities that's in need of engagement. You know what I mean? So you probably were not thinking that. So the point I'm making here is that you have to be creative with your degrees. Gone are the days when you can say, oh, I have a degree, so I will get a job. It's not happening anymore because
you have to have something else to offer. A more skill-based, practical, quick-based stuff.
It's about offering, it's about creating value, right? Because I spoke about soft skills earlier, like emotional intelligence and collaboration and so on. While employers are looking for that, there are also some hard skills that are needed in this day and age, like things like video production, blockchain, scientific computing, and the good old sales.
Yes.
So those are skills that, those skills are the skills that are required in terms of hard skills. So you have to look at how you can also collaborate with other people. Because I don't have the technical IT skills, but I have a lot of ideas that I've developed in the development space that will do well if I partner with persons in the IT space.
So
you know, persons who have graduated, so while you're on campus, try to, if you're going into uni in these times, strange times, try to see if you can partner with people from other courses. And if you're coming out, think about graduates that have skills that you can partner up with.
Yes. And wonderful thing with that too, because so many of those are reskilling yourself. I call it reskilling yourself too, is that we've seen an upsurge of how many universities are willing to offer courses at reduced rate online, 12 weeks, training institutes offering 12 weeks, 6 weeks courses at significantly reduced rates during the pandemic. And it's just one way to even occupy your time. In terms of if you don't have anything to do, especially if it was during the summer period when everything was on the low. But what do you think of those, though? Those courses?
Absolutely. So every word that has to do with skilling are buzzwords in this time.
Yeah.
Upskilling, reskilling, and just simply skilling.
Yourself.
So if there's a free course online that can allow you to add to your skills, absolutely. Because it might be something that you didn't even see yourself doing. During the pandemic, I did a computing course learning about, firewalls and this and that. And I didn't think that this is something that I would ever study, but the course was available. It was free. And I thought, If I'm building out a big social enterprise, my systems need to be protected.
Yes.
And even if I'm not the one that's going to directly do the work, when I'm talking to my IT person, I
You
want
don't
to
want
be
to be
able to,
lost.
from an informed perspective, to say, look, we have or all our on our intranet and our internet, we have XYZ files that I'd like protected in XYZ ways. So, and if something is suggested, I at least understand what my IT specialist is talking about. So, absolutely, I encourage people to, if you have not done an online course yet, find one, if it's even for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Because you might do it for the fun of it now, and it comes in really handy. Sometimes you're applying for a job, and the fact that you did a course in something is what differentiates you. And remember, competition is getting really fierce. So any little thing you can say, hey, I've done a course in XYZ. It really helps.
So let us look at productivity side, because there's something that emerges, especially from so many persons who will be working at home, studying from home now, where we get the home syndrome. And when I say the home syndrome is we tend to lose track of time easily. We tend to become, want to stay on the couch for the entire day because that's what
Yes.
or in the bed for the entire day. So at home, a lot of us have more time. And I say time is because we're saving on traveling, no more traffic, no more in between, but it's up out of the bed, the computer is in the other room or right there in the room with you. So you have that time saved. How do you make the most of that time being in these situations or these circumstances while trying to avoid homesickness?
I'm glad that you explained that having a lot of time does not mean that you have increased the hours in the day. Is of course you might be saving some time because you're not traveling or whatever. But if you don't manage your activities well, because I've often heard that you can't manage time. Time is
Manage the
doing,
activities.
and you can't manage it, but you can manage your activities that you fit within the given time. So it's kind of like an attitude that says, I have to work, right? So a lot of people have carved out really creative workspaces, and there are all kinds of videos on YouTube and content all over about creating your workspace. So if you can find a workspace that is your designated workspace, you get up out of the bed, just like when you have to go to work, and you get ready and go to your desk and work, right? And it
Yes.
sounds easier said than done. So you probably need to set up like an accountability partner that you have to video call and say, look, I'm at work, I'm at my desk. You know what I mean? Because sometimes a lot of us, including myself, if we don't set up systems to keep us committed and productive, it doesn't happen, right? I'm personally blessed with a mentor that I call to say, look, I have a project to submit by the 15th of October. And he would literally support me to say, okay, the 15th of October, and we'll build out a whole thing with all the tasks that will feed into that. And guess what? If you don't have a mentor like that, you can create it yourself. So this is the big task that I need to do. What are three main things I need to do to deliver that? One, two, three. What are some things that I need to do to feed those three main things? I literally have that diagram remain on my door. And each time I shade the box to say, okay, I've finished this. Next box, I've finished that. I like to have something physical.
Absolutely, and you get a sense of gratification for every box that you tick off, right? When you say, yep,
Right.
that's done.
Yes, and I shade it in green, Yeah, like,
Make it colorful.
right, make it colorful. I've done this. And I do another thing with my paper clips. So I have two jars, one filled with paper clips and an empty one. And each time I went to my desk and did what I planned to do, I put a paper clip there so I can physically see that, yes, I'm advancing. So there are all kind of productivity hacks. Different things work better for different people. Some people just want to have everything on their calendar in their phone, and that works for them. Whatever works for you. Get the accountability partner, set up your triggers, right? If you want to take a nap in the day, you have to be really disciplined about it. Set your alarm and know that, look, it's just half an hour. Or you can have a walk time. I'm in the UK, it's getting into winter now, so it's getting cold. During the summer days, because I love summer and I love the sun, I made a commitment to go outside at least once a day every day. Even if it means that I'm just walking around the block or going to the corner shop to buy a bottle of water. But I find a reason to go outside every single day. So you can set up a trigger. And especially when the work gets a bit overwhelming and your eyes get tired, like I'm wearing blue light blocker glasses
Yeah.
to block out that blue light because it can make you get dizzy, different reactions for different persons. And I learned this thing called the 2020 rule to say you look away for 20 seconds for every 20 minutes that you're looking at the computer screen. And it actually helps.
Wonderful. And just on that note, with our 2020 vision here, right here in 2020 with the pandemic, of course, we're going to take a very second break here on the show, but we'll be back with so much more. You definitely don't want to do anything. Just join us in the comments, share the live, like, share, tell your friends to come join because, of course, so many powerful, impactful, and useful tips are being dished out right here on the Yout Turnt show. We'll be right back.
You know who you are. What is your name?
Sometimes you wonder why and wonder how. Don't be alone. Just stay calm, cause even if you choose or not to.
My child, recite the words of this ancient mythology. The wisdom I disperse in this verse, no apology. Memorized to keep you from evil theology. For you, the darker hue, you denied your equality. See, for generations we perpetrated psychology. Divide and conquer each other, really lynch policy. You cannot build each other up, how will you build economy?
And of course, welcome back to the Yout Turnt show right here on GBKM FM. Of course, if you're just joining us, you have missed some, but don't worry, we have you covered. All our videos are posted to our platforms after the live is completed, so you can definitely catch up on what today's show has been going on with since the start, and of course share with your friends and your family. Of course, we have joining us today on the show such an powerful conversation we have been having is Mr. Shauna Mullins, development practitioner, having just completed her master's degree in, of course,